All right, good evening. We're going to go ahead and get tonight's Scranton City Planning Commission meeting under order. Caleb, could you do roll call for us? Or I could run through if you want, just
Yeah, I can note it down if you
take
want.
notes.
Sorry.
Yes, Mr. Fahey?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
I'm here.
Mr. Flanagan?
Here.
And Ms. Davis?
Here.
And Chair Todd Boosley here. All right, first item under old business is review of the preliminary final land development plan for Copacabana Glamping Complex, Morgan Highway. Do we have anybody here for that project? No? Casey, any updates on that one?
No, nothing since I think we went on record in March 23rd, and we haven't received a response. As far as I know from Dawn, they have, and Caleb, you may know better, they have an extension. I don't know the date, how long they've been extended, but at some point they're going to have to respond, or we should reach out to them to find out if they're going to respond, or they can pull back their application. It's been here for quite a while.
Yeah.
Without action, so.
Okay. Yeah, Caleb, if you could make a note to talk to Don about that, and yeah, we want to make sure if they're getting to the end of their extension that they request
In
another.
talking with him, I think he said he hadn't heard anything for quite a little bit of time, so he was going to send something out, but I'll follow up with him.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate it. Then on to item B under old business. It's review of the land development plan for the Wright Center to construct a new 4,430 square foot medical office at 1721 North Main Avenue. And I do believe we've got someone there for tonight's project. So yeah, if you don't mind just coming up to the podium there, if you use the mic, we'll pick it up online.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dylan Casey. I work for KSG Engineers and represent the Wright Center project. I believe my coworker Dakota Hateco has been here several times, and maybe most recently, the last month she may have even been here. So I am here to address the most recent letter from Riley. Mr. Colley over here was good enough to address some of the more recent things that we submitted to him, the most recent being the infiltration rates that we got for the site that helped us to supplement the stormwater report and to show our findings for the infiltration system planned on the site. So outside of that, speaking to the infiltration rates, there has been no real change to the plans. I'll address the last couple of items on this most recent letter from Riley and Mr. Colley to say the outstanding items, but what we're hoping for is conditional approval with this plan. My coworker Dakota had advised me that that is potential if all stormwater and site issues had been addressed. And again, I'll go through some of these outstanding items for the site. Going through this letter again, this is a letter from just yesterday, July 21st, from Riley, outlining the previous comments for the plans and then the outstanding comments. The outstanding comments that we have left, and please stop me if you wanted me to go through this more in depth, but I'll just jump to the outstanding comments. The fourth comment is just about the sewage planning module. We're still working on getting approval for that. Comment number 14 has to do with the dumpster enclosure. We will include a detail that has not been updated on the plans yet, so we don't, again, no changes have been made to the plan, so a more recent plan set is not being brought in front of you tonight, but that comment will be addressed. Again, that's for the dumpster enclosure. Another outstanding comment is the guarantees for the project, and I believe the last one then has to do with just the signing and sealing of the PE for the plans. So again, as far as we can see, those are the only outstanding comments that we have left. We plan to address them, and if it's appropriate and okay with the Planning Commission, we're requesting conditional approval for tonight.
Alrighty. So you mentioned the dumpster enclosure, so that's not currently on the plans?
That was a comment, there was a detail, and I think it got omitted between submissions, but it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
It just needed to be added
from
back.
what I was reviewing the plans and the past submissions, I think there was a question to the detail that was on there, then it was removed, and we plan to include a detail that is adequate.
Okay. Casey, anything you want to add to that?
I think Dylan covered everything. The infiltration testing was the big item we were waiting for. The only other item there is the waiver from the requirement to post a financial security. This comes up on a lot of plans, Article 7 or 8, Article 7. So that may require a formal waiver, action from the Planning Commission to waive that requirement.
Which number was that, Casey?
17. Yep,
okay.
thanks.
So that would be the only thing that would require a waiver, and then the other items would be conditions of approval.
Yep, that's correct. The receipt of the sewage planning approval from DEP, adding that detail, and then signing and sealing the plans.
Okay. Yeah, I know the stormwater piece, I think, was the main
Yeah,
missing
that's
component
they
last time,
just-
so everything, you're pretty satisfied with
Yeah,
that?
we are, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Questions, comments from other planning commission members?
Yeah, Casey, we typically give a waiver for those costs, those guarantees, but under what conditions?
We typically do unless there's something specific or, I don't want to say extraordinary about the project that the city would be in a position where they felt like they wanted to have some work bonded in case the development wasn't completed. Maybe, for example, like a larger site where there would be extensive grading where if for some reason it defaulted, the city could be on the hook to stabilize or otherwise, correct drainage patterns that were disrupted or something like that.
Okay.
This is a relatively small development, a redevelopment really, of the site on Main Street. So yeah, we do on most projects. They did submit an estimate, but the estimate goes part and parcel with the financial security if you were doing it.
Wouldn't that also come to play if the city was investing in infrastructure and things like that around a development project?
It could, or if there was a component that was being turned over to the city, a road, a sidewalk,
Right.
or whatever the case may be, where the city would want some type of guarantee, that work was completed to the city's satisfaction.
Okay.
But as a private development, I don't see the need in this case for this type of project.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay. If not, then we'll start with the waiver. So we'll look for a motion to waive the cost estimate and the improvement guarantee.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Jay. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right. Any questions about that? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. So that was the only waiver, correct, Casey?
That's correct. I don't know if there were previous waivers that were already approved. There probably was
Okay.
for scale or something in previous meetings, but that's the only remaining item that for some reason was not.
Okay. All right, so then we would be looking at a motion for conditional approval. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the conditions would be that the sewage planning module is approved, the additional detail on the dumpster is added, and the plans are signed and sealed by a professional engineer. Do you have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
All right, a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Yeah, so you've got conditional approval. You can continue to work with Casey and to iron out some of the details, but you should be good to go.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, and we will continue to keep everyone updated on these final items. I appreciate your
Awesome.
time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up is item C, review of land development plan for May Associates LLC to construct a Dunkin' and tenant building at 1230 North Kaiser Ave. Come on up. I know this is a project we've looked at a few times before, but yeah.
What a fork it is, I'll get it once and for all. Hello, everyone. So it was reviewed, Labella had reviewed it because they had done the first review. So Don wanted to have them take their comments and do that review. They reviewed it, they recommended final. There's a couple items, signature pages for all the final sign off on the plans. We as well, we are in month 11 of the sewer planning module. I am assured by the former semi-retired head of sewage planning that it is in typing and I should have it in the next 2 weeks. And anybody that does one in Pennsylvania American Territory now, you have to have a model of the sewer going to the treatment plant from your location, which is an additional $2,500 by a consultant in Philadelphia that I think made up the numbers that I could have made up, quite frankly, but that's the way it works. So that's done. And then obviously the as-built plans. I think outside of that, it's done. We've had MPDS for approval for probably 3 years. We finally got PennDOT's approval about 6 months ago on the driveway. The other request, which I had talked to Casey about, was making part of North-South Road. That's not part of the land development approval, but that was a request by us that you all forwarded to council to possibly make that section of North-South Road two-way, which is really for truck deliveries that PennDOT was kind of hoping we could do instead of having them try to come in through the right turn in. Just so all of you know, there's a 75-foot decel lane that has to be installed on Kaiser Avenue, just past Loop Road interchange. That's part of the project. Everything else is good, so we are requesting, final conditional approval based on the sewer planning module, the signatures, and getting all of that prepared. Duncan is chewing at our feet to get this built, so we are trying to get moving. So I appreciate your patience with this. I know it's been some time, but we're there. So Eric's ready to go, and we'd like to start building. So that's what I'm here for.
All righty. Questions, anybody about this project?
I do. Did the city approve that sort of changing to two-way on North-South Road?
They didn't approve it yet.
Okay.
They had given it to the engineer to review.
Okay.
And we should be getting that back. It was not a condition of the PennDOT permit. PennDOT
Okay.
was willing to do it without it. They just had recommended to us that we apply, we asked the city to do that. So
Yeah.
Okay.
that's what it was.
All right, thanks.
So that's not something, Caleb, Casey, that, the project could still go forward even if that weren't
Yes,
approved.
yes.
Correct.
We've been requested to put together that report, and we've done that, and we'll be getting that into Don's hands and then subsequently council.
Okay.
for
And it's not
review.
like there's a particular rush on that because the building needs to be built anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple months, right? Exactly.
Okay. Casey, do you remember, so we gave conditional approval for this project at one point, is that correct?
I don't know, just to go back a little bit, Riley Associates didn't initially review this because we weren't in the position of city engineer at the time. And then on top of that, we did some of the work for the highway occupancy permit with PennDOT. So once we were in this position, we continued to allow Labella to do it. So I don't remember exactly what action was taken on this one at any point
I don't know if there was a condition. I know that when we met, this is how far back it goes to COVID, when we met over at the park, at Nayout Park, the first meeting that the Planning Commission came back, John Poshis, who was at the time was the city engineer, we had talked about he was going to give us conditional. I said, please don't until we get through all the stuff that we need to get through, because I wasn't sure what PennDOT was going to do at that time. And since we've obviously worked out the PennDOT permit, so we are, so I don't think we had preliminary approval, but he was going to give me conditional final at the time, but we didn't have the PennDOT permit worked out. So I didn't want to do that. We had the NPDS permit worked out, but we didn't have the PennDOT permit worked out at the time. So
Okay.
it's a while back, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I think all these conditions look pretty straightforward. You explained them well.
Yeah, the last one, I said it was a recommendation, but I told Casey, it's all under one deed, and it's all being taxed as one parcel, so I wouldn't want to screw that up and try to combine them, because it's all being taxed and deeded under one deed anyway, so I wouldn't want to see us do that, to be honest with you.
Okay. So he suggests that we take a look at that. So I think if that's something that you want to run by Don as well, just to see if that's something they should do. Okay. All right, Casey, any reason we shouldn't offer?
I think you have,
approval at
I
this
think you
point?
have this letter from Labella, and you can,
Yeah.
I think you can act, since this has been before the board, you can act responsibly based on, these conditions. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right, then we will entertain a motion. Doesn't look like any waivers.
No,
That we
there
still
was no
need to approve
waivers.
at this point. So we will entertain a motion to provide conditional approval with the 8 conditions stated in the letter from Labella. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Any other questions? All right, none being heard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All righty. So,
Thank you.
congratulations for getting this far, and yeah, good luck with the project.
When can you stop for a coffee?
Thanks, Brent.
Moving on to new business. Item A, review of preliminary final land development plan for the construction of a warehouse facility on a parcel located on a 56.86 acre parcel between Boulevard Avenue and Olyphant Avenue, south of Interstate 81. Do we have anybody here tonight for that project? Okay.
Todd, there isn't. We've talked to them. We've reviewed the plans. They came in time, and we had some comments for them. And one of the items, they wanted to address one of the items up front before we published the letter in regard to, if you remember when they came in and presented, they were primarily, their direction for truck traffic for 81 was down Boulevard Avenue, until the point where it reached Main Street in Dixon City Borough. So that portion of Boulevard is a state route. And then once it reaches Main Street and it makes that left-hand turn, that becomes a county road to 81. So we wanted them to look specifically at that intersection a little bit closer. We don't think there's an issue. They submitted a traffic assessment that shows that it doesn't warrant a full traffic study. But we do think they may need to do some restriping around that intersection. If you're familiar with it, it's kind of a hard turn for a truck. So they wanted to look at that first before they responded or that we issued the letter. So they did ask that, the plans were sent in. We as the engineer looked at them, they're complete. And in fact, we did, complete our review. So they wanted their plans to be accepted, as is our procedure to start the review process. And they plan on being here at the next meeting.
Okay.
Oh, so we're just kind of like accepting it? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, yeah, so we would be accepting them for review tonight. That begins the review, the formal review period, and the 90-day clock.
And this looks really similar to what the last proposal they brought in up on the screen with the 2 large warehouses that are around the Army Reserve Center. with the access point to Boulevard Avenue. They fleshed out their design, their utilities, their stormwater, and everything they'll need for that.
So how do we address like the traffic impacts that are going to be in Troop and Dixon City? I feel like they're sort of beyond the limits of the city of Scranton. Is that something that the county needs to look at, like when they're evaluating this?
Well, they've said they wouldn't have to look at it because, well, if in their reassessment of what we've asked them, that the PennDOT or the county becomes an affected party where they have to, let's just use the intersection of Main and Boulevard as an example. If they have to move the stop bar back, now that changes the traffic signal timing and everything that goes on there. So that would then become something that would require PennDOT attention and also the borough, because the borough maintains the traffic signal and the traffic signal permit, so they would have to sign off on that. So then they would be involved in both, most likely the county and the DOT.
Okay, all right. And then, I mean, down the road, like if this is approved for like warehouse use, at some point could it be changed to something else?
Like a data center?
I
so much
think that
discussion
I think that it could to the point where when they have to apply, for a zoning permit, and then in as much as it affects the bulk zoning requirements too, if they're presenting it as warehouse and that requires X amount of parking or that requires so many acres per lot, whatever the case may be, different setbacks, then they can run into an issue where that needs to be reevaluated.
Okay,
But I thought Dad was working on something about, as far as the data centers, for us to be in a good situation with it.
That was my understanding. I don't know how far along that process went.
As long as we started the process, we're okay, right?
We've talked about it, but
All right.
yeah, I'd have to defer to Don as far as any type of government action on that or any higher level.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm not aware.
Good question.
That's what I'm saying, like,
Other questions, comments? All right. Yeah, seeing as the application's complete at this point, we would entertain a motion to accept the plans for review.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Jay. We have a motion. Second?
A second.
Thanks, Jen. Any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So we've accepted those for review, and I would expect we'll probably see the developer at some point at one of our upcoming meetings.
Yeah, I'd imagine they're.
Yeah. All right, great. Thanks, Casey. Item B under new business, review of preliminary final land development plan for the development of 14 apartments with 4,000 square feet of office space and 4,000 square feet of retail space at 1800 North Washington Avenue as part of the redevelopment of the former State School for the Deaf site.
Oh, this is the guy?
Hi.
Dave Lepaka with Ruther and Bowman. So this is, basically, this is our initial meeting. We did submit a while ago. I did receive a letter from Casey last night and did take a look at it today. I mean, the majority of the comments, I believe, that are on the letter we could address. So this, I mean, basically this parcel, as you all probably know, is separated. Some of it's in Dunmore, some of it's in Scranton. There's only one of the buildings that are in Scranton, the building that's on North Washington Avenue, the brick building. All the other buildings actually are within the boundaries of Dunmore Borough. So we've also submitted to Dunmore Borough, so we're kind of going through the process with them as well. So from the Scranton side, in that particular building, they're looking at 14 apartments, like you had stated, a office, and then some retail space. We're looking to expand the parking behind that existing building as part of this project. I don't know if it's up there or not. You can see the parking lot that's I mean, the one on the top, the one on the bottom is actually an existing parking lot, and the one up on top is proposed, just to meet requirements of your ordinance and in addition to Dunmore's ordinance for the overall parking for the whole site. From a planning module perspective, we're going back and forth with PA American at this point because our initial discussion with them is that this whole property only had one EDU, which cannot possibly be because there was 200 students in there at one time. So, so we're kind of working through that with them. They wanted us to do an overall fixture count in the existing buildings and then come back and say, here's what was existing before, here's what's proposed. Do we have enough sewage for what was proposed as opposed to, or what was existing as what was proposed? So we're actually working through that with them at this point. So that was naturally one of Casey's comments, the planning module, which we know we need to keep working through. In addition, you know, just some of Casey's comments, I don't think there's anything that he asked that was that you know can't be addressed at the next meeting. We just got the comments last night, so, and we were just planning on coming and giving basically an introduction to the project at this point, so that you have an understanding of what it is when we do come back the next time. We did make a submission as well to Lackawanna County Regional Planning Commission and to the Lackawanna County Conservation District. It is an MPDES permit because we're disturbing over an acre. We actually received a response back from Lackawanna County Regional Planning Commission, which I'll provide copies of when I resubmit. They actually stated that they do not need to review it because we're not building any new buildings. All the buildings are existing, they're just being remodeled. Typically, they kind of jump in when there's any kind of new construction, other than just parking lots. So we do have a letter from them stating that. We did receive comments from the Conservation District, administrative comments on the MPDS permit, which we're in the process of reviewing, and we'll be resubmitting to them probably sometime next week. And we'll start addressing Casey's comments probably within the next day or two so that we can make a submission prior to the next meeting and have hopefully the majority of those questions answered. We will be attending, again, being that it's in both municipalities, we will be attending a planning commission meeting in Dunmore, I believe the first week of August. So whatever comments that they may have, we'll be addressing in conjunction with anything that Riley provided. Does anyone have any questions for me that I could answer at this time?
I've got a question. Casey, can you just kind of clarify for the planning commission or explain, you know, considering, you know, the full project spans 2 municipalities, what our planning commission's role is? Are we strictly looking at, you know, the portion of the project within Scranton, or are we also kind of considering the piece that's in Dunmore? How does that work practically?
Unless the city itself decided that they wanted to, you know, waive, you know, their ability, you know, being that a portion of the project is within the city and leave it up to Dunmore Borough or vice versa. I discussed this with Don, and the idea was that we would review this entire plan, especially in the way that it may affect the city of Scranton, like the drainage and some of the sewer, that they sort of work together. You know, we avoided making comment about specific zoning requirements, or, you know, we didn't go through the Dunmore Borough ordinance. And we also didn't apply the Scranton ordinance to the Dunmore portions of the project, but we did make some general comments, you know, as the stormwater is sort of a site-wide sort of concept or plan. So the role of this planning commission would be they would need to approve this, and I think they have the title blocks on the front for all. So this would be sort of a joint effort with
yeah, we actually did a subdivision recently on the, because it was over one overall parcel. And the developers wanted to divide it into, I guess, three separate parts.
Four, I think.
Four,
There's two in
yeah.
Scranton and then two.
Yeah, so
in
there's
Dunmore.
two in Scranton, so this building, you can see the lot, the property
Yeah.
lines. The one building will have some of the parking, will end up with the parking in the back, and then there's a empty lot at this point that they don't know what they're gonna do with, so that if anything got developed on that lot, they would develop that separately, have to come back to the city for any approvals. And then there's two parcels, it's only, no.
It's one on the other side of Meadowbrook.
There's a separate parcel on the opposite side of Meadowbrook Creek that's not being developed at this time either. So there's two parcels in Dunmore. The one parcel encompasses the whole development that's currently there. And then there's a piece on the opposite side of Meadowbrook that's going to remain vacant. They don't know what they're doing with it yet. And naturally, they have to go back to the borough if something was to be developed there and get approvals for that, if something is developed there in the future. So, you know, I think that the comments provided by Casey are, you know, per your ordinance, and they review the whole plan, but they don't get into, again, like he said, detail on the Dunmore side, which is fine, and we'll address any comments that he did provide, and, you know, prior to this. And I think he did state as well that we do have signature blocks on the cover sheet that encompasses Scranton and Dunmore, so once it's approved by both, we'll need to get it signed by both prior to getting it recorded.
Okay. So it looks like the bulk of the development work that you're doing, obviously, you know, you mentioned the buildings are existing, you're renovating those, but, you know, really what we're looking at primarily is the addition of parking.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this plan is for the additional parking and the stormwater for the majority of it. You know, to make sure naturally that what's being built has adequate parking, and naturally, we're increasing some of the existing impervious cover, so we're going to need to do stormwater as well.
Right. So when it comes to things like parking and landscaping, do you need to then meet basically the conditions for both Scranton and Dunmore in that case? Like, in the event that our zoning ordinances
Well, I
don't
think from a
align?
landscaping perspective, for the building in Scranton, we would need to meet Scranton's requirements for landscaping, and the buildings in Dunmore, we would need to meet Dunmore's landscaping requirements. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's how I view it, unless there was something that was, you know, unreasonable or some way that we would sort of, you know, coordinate with Dunmore Borough or their engineer's review, just so it made sense to the developer. Like, we don't want to get into a situation where they were creating two different, you know, comments or something that sort of butts heads with what they're doing on the other side as well. So,
Okay.
but yes, they will have to meet the requirements in Scranton of the Scranton Code, and that's what you'll be approving ultimately.
Not to, like, kind of get off topic, but I did have a question regarding, I guess, two of your comments.
Okay.
One of them is provide required approvals from the FAA and PennDOT Bureau of Aviation. We're not building anything. Those are all existing buildings. Would we need that for parking?
That's a good point. I mean, they are there, and that's something that was added to the new zoning code, and it applies to a huge swath of the city, and it's really...
No, I get that,
Yeah.
but to me, some of that stuff doesn't seem like it's relevant here, because we're not actually building.
If you're not
a building.
constructing a new one, I think you can make an argument that you don't need to do that.
You're not going
Correct.
to be aware of the planes, right?
Yeah, I mean, and we
buildings are
had to
already
do
there.
that for another project that we did in the city, and it's time-consuming to get the FAA to respond to you. So,
Yes, agreed. Yep.
So is that something they could request a waiver for that we could?
well, it's zoning though, so I'm not sure how that needs to be addressed, I guess, is my question.
Let me look into it, and maybe we can talk to the solicitor, as it may be, or someone who can determine. But I think I agree with you in the sense that this is an existing condition, and so that may not apply. They're not putting something into an area that could be a hazard potentially.
Right, exactly.
Which is the point of
Being
getting
that-
those sign-offs if you're in these exclusionary zones created by the.
Yeah, that one kind of
Airport
surprised
overlay.
me a little bit. That was kind of the only one I think that really surprised me. Like, we don't have to deal with the FAA again. They are difficult, but even PennDOT's hard to get. The PennDOT Bureau of Aviation is difficult to get in touch with and get to respond, so.
Sure.
Other than that, at this point, what our plan is to address Casey's comments, resubmit, hopefully in adequate time before the next meeting so that he can get a look at it, and hopefully we could start knocking off some of these issues.
Dave, could you just walk us through the plan and which buildings are intended for which uses?
Sure. The building on the left, that building is going to have 14 apartment buildings on the upper levels. The lower level is going to have an office building on the left side and then retail space on the right
Okay.
side. All the other buildings
All
are just
residential.
going to be apartments.
Okay.
They're all the old state school buildings.
Yeah.
They're renovating all of those into apartments. There's no other uses in those buildings.
Are there outdoor amenities also that are not shown yet on the plans?
I know in the, it's hard for me to see.
Yeah.
Behind some of those buildings, there is a big open space. You're talking like amenities.
Like beyond, the sidewalks that are shown or lawn?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, there is an area in the center that at some point maybe they dress up landscape-wise or even walkway-wise or something, but at this point, they're remodeling buildings and
Okay.
looking just to put the apartments in there with the parking that goes along. I know Casey had, one of your comments I know had related to the same thing as the dumpsters, so we'll provide dumpster locations as well.
For the whole site, about how many apartments are
There's, total is there's 106, I believe.
106?
Yeah.
Okay.
14 of them are in the building in Scranton, along with the commercial or the retail and the office space,
Right.
and then everything in Dunmore is apartments.
Yeah. And do you know about are they two-bedroom apartments or one-bedroom apartments?
I believe there's going to be a mix
Okay.
of one and twos.
Ones and twos?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And that one on North Washington Avenue, is that a three-story building or a two?
That is a 3-story building.
Okay. All right. So like 7 apartments on each of the two
Mm-hmm. They're going to
upper
have, I believe, 7 and 7, and then the lower level will be
Okay.
broken up.
Well, you said they're already putting the windows and everything in.
They have building permits because the buildings are existing.
Yeah.
And they actually put new roofs on all the buildings at this point, and a couple of the buildings, they put new windows in. And I know they're doing some framing in some of them as well at this point.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they're clearly already doing work up there.
Yes, building-wise.
Yeah.
Yep. Anybody else?
Just one item we know about some sidewalks that don't.
No, I saw your comment. on
It comes up often here, and it's important that
Yeah, we'll
the
take-
connectivity to
Yeah.
existing.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll take,
a look at that,
I'll
please.
take a look at that. I know that, so all the buildings, actually all the buildings were connected by overhead tunnels or something that was
Yeah,
built. through
corridors. Yeah.
corridors. And some of those are coming out. They don't want all the buildings connected that way anymore. Buildings are going to kind of be isolated to each building. Other than, I think, 3, 4, and 5 or something over on that side, they're all connected anyways. But there was a bunch of walkways. There was a walkway from the main building on North Washington. There was a big covered walkway that went up to the building. I don't even know the numbers right now. I think it's building 3 or 4.
9 is the one right behind it.
Yeah, 9 is the big, oh no, that's the one from the main building. So they're taking down a bunch of those connections just because they were kind of to keep the students indoors, walking back and forth to each of the buildings so that they could stay inside as opposed to walking outside. So a lot of that's, like those types of things are coming out in a couple spots. So we will look at the sidewalk and make sure from a connectivity standpoint, we addressed that.
Okay.
Will the site be open to the public in terms of pedestrian traffic, or will it be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
Gated.
they're not putting gates or anything on, if that's what your question
Okay.
is.
Yeah, because a lot of people are walking to the cemetery.
And there is a path through there currently
Yeah.
that goes along the creek there and pops out on the field that's on the vacant lot. There is a path that goes through there, and people do use it. They're not looking to restrict any of that, as far as I know. They're not putting gates up or swing gates for cars coming in and out or anything.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's catty corner to a park, to a city park. But yeah, a lot of people are using Dunmore Cemetery for recreation.
Well, yeah, tons of people
Yeah.
walking
Yeah,
to
but that's-
cemeteries.
That's the Dunmore Cemetery right there.
Oh, it's not?
That's a different one.
There are two cemeteries.
Okay.
There's
In
another
fact, my buddy
smaller,
runs it.
There's actually,
Okay.
there's actually three.
three, okay.
From there up,
Yeah.
there's up to Blakely Street, there's three different cemeteries.
There's this Jewish cemetery. Mm-hmm.
That's in the middle.
I walk to Dunmore Cemetery every day.
Yeah, the Jewish one's in the middle, and then there's the
Yeah.
Dunmore St. Mary's one up top, and then I don't even remember the name of it, the one that accesses off of Jefferson Avenue there.
Casey, when we're looking at something like parking across boroughs, would we look at that parking as a whole or just parking in the Scranton side, even though like the 26 apartment building is only directly connected to the parking lot on the Scranton side?
I think in this case, because that building, it's only one building, it doesn't cross municipal boundaries, so we're looking at this mixed use, and we'd ask that they'd have the parking, they'd meet the parking requirement in that general vicinity, or however the ordinance allows. If for some reason, and I don't think that's the case, it was in Dunmore Borough, it probably would be allowed because it'd be within 400 feet or whatever the case may be.
There may be, at some point, an agreement, because I don't believe, we added that parking lot behind that building, plus there was already that existing lot. There might be an agreement once, I don't know, entity-wise, I believe they're owning all of them, but they might be co-owning one of them.
Okay.
So there may be some shared parking to meet the overall number between Dunmore and Scranton. Scranton will have actually plenty, according to because I think they're, apartment-wise, they're only required one space per unit. So that's 14 plus whatever the office space and the retail, which I'll get you that number.
Yeah.
But there'll be extra parking spaces between those two lots in the end. So there might be an agreement from Dunmore to Scranton, or between lots, I guess, because they're kind of restricted on the Dunmore side. I believe we're close to what our number needs to be overall, but they may end up having to provide some type of agreement that there's shared parking between the lots.
Yeah, they provide a table on the plan that shows the Dunmore requirements as well. So, I mean, we are looking to make sure that the entire development is served, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we ran a number for both, other than, I guess we have to add in, because at the time, I think when we started doing this, they weren't sure what they were doing with the bottom, whether it was going to be apartments. But it's going to be office space and retail space. So we'll add all those numbers up. And I think overall, site-wise, we were trying to get to the right number. But there potentially could be, if they do sell any of these lots and there's different owners, they would naturally have to have some kind of agreement between the two.
Yeah, and as Dave mentioned, the Scranton zoning code for this type of use for apartments requires one space per apartment, and Dunmore is two. So if there would be any carryover or additional need for the Scranton side, it would likely.
No, I think Scranton, there's going to be, there'll be extra spaces for
Okay.
sure on the
Good.
Scranton side. The Dunmore side may need to share some of that in the end. But overall, we're looking at the whole thing from a parking number from Dunmore and Scranton, what the requirement is.
Does that answer your question? Okay, great.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
So I'm not here to ask for anything tonight.
Casey,
Just present, and if you guys,
Is the application complete? And
Yes.
So we can accept it for review tonight?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate to accept it and start the review timeline for this. And we've already, published our letter, in fact, so that's
Sure.
what's
Got a
completed.
jump start on that.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, then we'll entertain a motion to accept the plans.
So moved.
Thanks, Gus.
Second.
We have a second. Any other questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right.
thank you for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
See you, buddy. Give Dave back his paper.
All right, that brings us to general commission business. The only thing I wanted to follow up on tonight was our complete streets policy. I did just make some edits to the policy based on the discussion we had at our last meeting. I sent that out to everybody. I don't believe we've got printed copies, but I sent that out to everybody to review in advance of this meeting. So yeah, we could discuss if anybody's got other questions, comments, concerns about it.
I have a question. It was the city council have they had any of the information and all yet?
Not yet, no.
I know, because one councilman was texting me, wanted me to know if I had a copy of that. And I really didn't know I did at the time, so I said, no, you don't have it.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I found it in my, area, but I didn't pass
Yep.
anything on.
Yeah, so I think when we discussed the process, we agreed it would make sense to put together a proposal that then we can work with city council, the mayor's office, law department, and figure out what is the appropriate avenue for,
Implementation.
reviewing this and
So at some
eventually
point,
approving
the
it.
document will be used by all, right? Mayor's office and the city council and us, right?
Correct, yes. Ultimately, this would take the form of legislation the city council would
Have to pass
consider. So there's probably two routes. Either the mayor can propose it to city council for approval, or somebody on city council could bring that legislation
All right. Yeah, maybe
for
that's what's
approval
right.
as well. I think regardless, it's probably going to have to go by the city's law department and others, to make sure it passes muster, so.
All right.
I mean, can we sort of, if it's can we get ourselves on the agenda to be part of a work session or something to talk about it, or independent of the administration, the city administration?
I would assume so, yeah. I think that's something we'd have to talk to Don about, how that's typically handled, but yeah, I think we can certainly have conversations with the administration, with city council, with, whoever wants to
Yeah.
discuss the policy, has questions about it. This, what would come from us is going to be a proposal. Ultimately, as with any city legislation, it would be, on city council ultimately, if they wanted to change the policy in certain ways, that would be their prerogative. But, I imagine this would be a little bit like the zoning ordinance, in the sense that our planning commission basically makes a recommendation to city council ultimately, that then they make a decision about whether to approve, and if they're approving,
Okay.
how they might revise it or amend it.
Okay, all right.
I'm guessing too, I know we discussed, community engagement being an important part of the process.
Right.
I'm sure city council would also, I'm guessing city council would also want to make sure that there's an opportunity for the public to
Right.
provide some
Right.
comments and
Yeah.
feedback on this. So what exactly that process looks like, I'm not sure. I think that's what we need to figure out still.
Yeah, yeah. And what are we as a commission willing to do in terms of the community engagement part? Like, is that something that we're willing to sort of take the show on the road and try to present in front of different neighborhood community groups, or in other ways to go to where people are and
Sure.
tell them about the proposal?
Yeah, I mean, I know for me personally, it's something I'd, be happy to do, and certainly look to any planning commission members that wanted to be involved in that, depending on what,
Yeah.
what that entails. But, yeah, I think that's an important part of the process, so.
Right, okay. I think especially like that's a good thing to have in our back pocket for the city council if they, you know, they want to get sort of more reassurance that it's something that people want or people will accept. It'll be a change. So,
Yeah.
you know, generational level change. So,
Yeah, I mean, the other option, you know, we can look into, consider as well. I know as a planning commission, we have an option to hold our own public comment sessions and
Right.
hearings on specific things. So, you know, if that's something that, you know, we felt like we wanted to do even before
Right.
passing it along or recommending it, I believe that's an option.
yeah, okay.
You know.
That may make more sense than advancing it to city council and then getting input.
Yeah. Yeah, it might.
Because we'll get some feedback, and then
we
we
can
can say when
incorporate.
we go to city council that we got this feedback that we responded to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so I think once Don gets back, it's probably a conversation we can have with him to figure out what the, you know, what the appropriate course of action is.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. Any other questions, comments about kind of the proposal itself? Everybody comfortable with it as is? Do we
Great
still want to
idea.
take some time to massage it some more?
I travel my daughter lives near Ridgewood, New Jersey, and they have already kind of implemented a lot of these things like in that town. I mean, there's lights on the outside, but there's walkability and everything else, a lot of restaurants and all, you know, a lot of things to do. Then my son lives in Oregon, Milwaukee, Oregon, right? They're kind of laid on the same, they're light years ahead of us as far as this kind of implementation, you know? And like, until you guys brought this up, I really didn't. And then when I was traveling, I said, wait, here, I see it over here. And then there's a place up across the border in New York. I'm trying to think of the name of that town. They have it. You can just tell by the way it's laid out. And they really are doing well. Like, you can tell, like in Milwaukee, Oregon, I mean, they got a lot of breweries right there in downtown. Things like that are connected with other stuff, you know, going on really prosperous. You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think here, I think they don't know really what it's about. And I think they're like, you know, especially city council.
Yep.
Some of them.
I mean, that's what I think. I mean, basically, I think that's why there's, I think, more work to do, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of, like, just going as slow as the process needs to happen to get people to buy in and get questions answered and to hear complaints all the way through and sort of, and then also to hear from other constituents that are interested in walkability and bikeability and bringing that to the fore as well, you know, so.
Yep, I don't think there's a huge rush. It's been a while since we first started talking about this policy, so yeah, I agree. We can, you know, take whatever time we need to make sure we do it and do it well. All right. Then I will, Caleb, if you can put it on your list for Don when you get back, just, you know, we can, you know, maybe between the three of us, we can start talking about, you know, next steps and where we kind of take the proposal from here.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, awesome, appreciate it. Any other general business?
I mean, Caleb, you included the Marywood,
Oh, yeah, it was in the
was in the packet.
files. So
Okay.
I included it in there, but
but there's no action for us necessarily to take?
not that I know of, no, yeah.
No, I think that's something we had reviewed and
Oh,
and
the
approved
lot line
that.
adjustment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at our last meeting perhaps. Caleb, anything you wanted to say about base camp? Just kind of a follow-up to your email.
Yeah, I'll work on, I mean, Don and I coordinate a little bit, but I mean, I typically get the documents when you guys get the documents. So, you know, maybe we'll coordinate on me getting it uploaded in there. And I think it'll be a better way to organize each application as, you know, one file. So instead of every month getting, you know, a dump of potentially every documents, but maybe we're missing a review letter or something, they're just all in the same place. And we add the new stuff every month. And we could say, send out the agenda and say we're reviewing these applications and the files. So, I don't know. I think it would be a little bit of a better way, but I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, just because it's a lot.
Yeah,
to go through, and you have to open each
truthfully
document
don't.
to see what it is in some
Yeah.
cases.
We're meeting 2 weeks prior to just to set the agenda. And a lot of times if I'm, like, obviously if it's going to be on the agenda, I have the plans in my possession. So I don't see why they couldn't be distributed at that point.
Right.
Yes.
If they're going to be on the agenda, you know,
Yes.
that should be just, yeah, pretty easy, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
And it'll be nice to have historical data. I mean, we did this with the Historical Architectural Review Board, and now members can view, you know, if there's another, you know, say one of these like land development subdivisions come up and they're doing new land development on it, we're like, I don't know, you know, I wasn't here, you know, you guys weren't here maybe, and it's new members, they could go back and look and see, you know. So I think it's useful for a lot of reasons,
Yeah,
but
that's a good point. I mean, we had a project tonight, the Duncan project, that has been literally years in the making. So, yeah, we weren't all here when that was first
Yeah.
discussed, and there was a different city engineer at the time. So, yeah, to have
and other stuff too, like you can keep iterations. So, yeah, I think it's a superior tool to share file. I don't typically use share file anymore, but
Sure.
yeah, I'll talk to Don about it when he gets back and see what he thinks. But yeah,
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Anything else? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
See,